Hey everyone, welcome to WitchSlapped, the PopWire AfterShow for Sci-Fi's Revival. I'm Rowell,
I'm Christina.
and today we have a very special guest.
Mm.
We're very excited to have him on. It is the co-creator, co-showrunner of Revival, Aaron B. Koontz. Aaron, how are you doing today?
Oh my goodness, I'm honored to be here and yeah, very excited to talk, especially about this episode.
Yes, yes. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. We had Luke Boyce on a few episodes ago, so very thrilled to have you on, especially for this episode, which you've mentioned is your baby. If you haven't seen it yet, because this episode is of Witch Slapped is going on right after it airs on the East Coast. If you haven't seen the episode yet, pause this, watch the episode Bloodlines, and then come back. All right, Christina, tell us what Bloodlines is about.
A breakthrough turns deadly when the Cypress family becomes a target, and it was written by Aaron B. Koontz and Luke Boyce and directed by Samir Rahim. Aaron, I got really excited that you wanted to be on this one because you co-wrote this episode. And I feel like when when a showrunner writes an episode, it's usually a big episode.
Yeah, to say the least. Yes. When Luke and I, we called it our mini writers room, which was just Luke and I on Zoom for the longest time, talking for months on end. And we wanted to have a moment that really shifted the power dynamics of the show, pulled the rug out from under you a bit. And we knew episode was going to be between episode 5 and 7, somewhere in there was going to be the range where we are going to, reveal for the first time, the passenger, the creature, and also the ending that we knew was going to happen with Em and Dana. And so it was when we were like divvying out episodes, I'm like, listen, sorry, putting my showrunner foot down. I apologize. I want to be as collaborative as I possibly can, but right now I'm writing this episode, guys. I'm sorry. I have to. I see it in my head. It was so important to me. It was just something that I always want to do. Also, the reveal of the shooter and the fight sequence that I wanted just to play in that space. And so, yeah, but this is, Luke and I talk about this a lot. This is our second pilot, is the way we look at it, about reframing what you think and changing, everybody's kind of fates moving forward.
And I have a question. As Christina mentioned, that this episode is directed by Rahim, and the previous five were directed by Amanda Rowe. Is Samir? Does he direct the final five, or does?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. An unorthodox way of making TV, let me tell you, but everything about this was unorthodox. But we did 2 blocks of 5. And so, I come from the feature space, made 25 or so features as a producer and also director myself. Luke's also a director and producer. And we thought we could, just to wrap our heads around it as showrunners, was like, if we just make this 2 movies, but like massive movies, like within it, was part of our plan to kind of help us, reframe it. And it just allowed us to kind of compartmentalize, 1 through 5 and 6 through 10. So yes, Amanda Rowe, who wonderfully did the first 5 episodes, and then Samir Ham is going to blow some minds in 6 through 10. Yep.
We are going to go into our Who Said It. So the way that it works is I will present a quote from the episode, and Christina and Aaron will guess who it is. I think Aaron has an advantage because he wrote the episode. But hopefully it's been far back that you probably won't remember who it might have been. Okay, so my quote is, "I'm a patsy. I'm a patsy." And Aaron, it looks like you already figured it. You already know.
I mean, yeah, I know the scene. I wrote the scene. It is too. Yeah, yeah. There's even a favorite line right after that. That's one of my favorite lines. But who goes first? I guess.
Okay, so Christina, who is it?
That was McCrae, correct?
That was Deputy McCrae, played by Nathan Dales. And it's when he says that he didn't shoot Dana and Professor Weimar, and that he didn't want to reveal information on the reviver parts in his trunk. And what I noticed is Professor Weimar's first name is Aaron, and then at first I thought, was that character named after you, Aaron? But it was actually his name in the comics as well, right? So that
Yeah, and I hate it. I hate it so much because he's horrible. He's like a horrible, gaslighting, like awful person, cheating on his wife with cancer, and then like gaslighting M and like upset, like all these things. And I hated it. I hated it. And then you're talking about, how awful Aaron is in the writer's room and all this. And I'm like, okay, okay. Okay, gotta move past. But yeah, no, it was definitely definitely not named after me. But we try to keep some names for the comic. I will say one of my favorite lines from McCrae in that same scene is right after, where he's talking about, they're gonna do this to my family and my dog Newman, which was my dog Newman. I had a pug named Newman that I love very much, and so that's named after him. Got to give Newman shout out. So it's important.
I
Yeah.
love little Easter eggs like that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
All right, so now we're going to go into our favorite moments from the episode, and there are so many. Christina, let's start with you. What was your favorite moments?
There were too many to choose just one, so I'm gonna just briefly talk about a few that I just really enjoyed. The first would be when Dana finds out that the Czech brothers have taken Cooper, Jordan, and M, and she's trying to leave the hospital, and she's on the ground being tackled by the nurses. And I just feel Melanie Scrofano's acting really got to shine through in that scene. I've been a fan of hers for a while, and she's just incredible, and the way she can shift from comedy to serious like that is brilliant. I would say my second one, it is when M is all chained up, talking to Anthony Check. Like, she looks absolutely feral in that scene, and I love it. I think it's incredible. And then piggybacking off of that, my favorite scene is when she is, at the end hunting everyone down the hallways and she's just covered in blood and she's just taking everyone out in that warehouse.
Yes, okay, so that is my favorite moments is when she, M, played by the amazing Romy Weltman, is attacking Andrew Check, played by Matt Willis, and Anthony Check, played by CM Punk. I could watch that on a loop because it was amazing. And, Aaron, I have a question for you. Can you talk a little bit about, what it was like filming those attack scenes with Romy and the Czechs?
Oh, it was crazy. It was completely crazy. And, it was really fun because Romy's so adorable. There's this moment where we have the stunt double who's from the boys that we had that was on. So that's where we were able to kind of go a little crazy. And at first she was doing a little too much karate moves. And then I'm like, okay, I don't think M knows how to do karate, but I think she is. I think Christina, what you said is perfect, is that she's feral. She's like losing her sense of self and just unleashing all this angst and frustration. And if you think about how much we've beat up M to this point and through her life, like how are you releasing that in this cathartic release? It's our needed to be very feral, I think is absolutely the right word in how this was explored. But there's a moment where Romy's gonna hate me for saying this, where I'm watching the monitor and you're seeing the stunt people go through their motions, and Romy's there like mimicking it, like, okay, okay, doing the thing. And I'm like, okay, no, this is too much. Like we can't, like, Romy, you're not doing this thing. But then when we get there and we had those moments, we kind of pared it down and got there. It was just really cool to see her transform in such a way that, is releasing this. And yeah, it was a blast. I mean, it was such a blast. And, I think you've felt some things under the surface, that are bubbling, with M's character. And we wanted to unleash this, and I really love the moment where they're like, she should be there now. The truck should be there now. Where is she? And then you cut and the truck's turned over and Samir has this great, twisting shot and you just see the silhouette walking away. Right. And you're like, oh shit. Like things are about to get real, Oh, yeah, yeah. I was really, really proud of that. And the music and all the wonderful people that helped us kind of put this together, I think really, illustrate that. And then I would say, the next stage of that was really special, and I was absolutely, I mean, there's certain days where you're prepping other episodes, you're trying to balance, the back and forth, or I'm even writing stuff. I would write stuff sometimes on the day that we're having to, like, redo and things like that, so it was a little crazy, very crazy, to say the least. But I was not gonna miss the Czech warehouse stuff, like, it was just not gonna happen. I was staying up all night, I'm gonna be there, and for me, my favorite moment is, when she does kill Anthony Check, because not just the veracity by which she does this and how, insane it is, and that, yeah, it's a quote unquote "cool kill," but this idea of taking, and it was so important to me for her to take what has been a weakness in her life and then literally must break the bones that would always break on her and then use those to kill, to survive, right? I thought was very symbolic and, hopefully, darkly, there's like little poetic undertones. Like I hate to call on doing darkly that seems like I'm being very grandiose what we're writing, but that's the goal we were trying to set, right? And you're trying to kind of set forth. So that is, and in fact, we were able to make that happen. It works so great. And then again, you have CM Punk who's actually wrestling with Romy, which is really fun to watch. And I have so many behind the scenes photos that I cannot wait to finally share. And all the stuff that we did was just such a blast.
Who choreographed the fight scenes?
So is Max. Max White was our stunt coordinator, who's wonderful, again from the boys, and was really an unsung hero throughout the entire series. Like he would elevate these situations. So like even the fight with Brent, in the hospital, we put these two beds together and we're going through all this stuff. And he's like, okay, showing me, I have like video of him like kind of going through with the stunt people, all the stuff they were doing. And I'm like, okay, well, no, add a drag. I want to do one of those drag shots, and the gun's here and it needs to land here. And then they need to be thrown here. And then we would just all get into it. And then Samir's directing. And I'm like, okay, Samir, come over here. What do you think of this? And like, then he's adding his ideas and flavor. And it was just so fun. But Max really elevated, so much of what we were doing. He's just a wonderful, wonderful stunt coordinator.
And I have one final question about the fight scenes with Romy and the actors who play the Czech brothers. How did you guys decide when the stunt double would step in and when Romy would step in? Like what percentage of those fight scenes were actually Romy?
She's in a good portion of it. I mean, there's certain levels of, when it gets really fast, like that's not necessarily Romy, but what's nice is the hoodie allows you to kind of like create angles, and also this idea, and this was from the script, which is like go to dark and the red light and the flashing, which kind of allows you ways to hide and maybe kind of hide some cuts and things that are there. It was really fun. We had one kill we had to actually make off screen, which was pretty gnarly. It just got too expensive and too crazy for how she kills Adam Check, who you just see the aftermath. But I mean, at one point I was gonna have her rip I mean, oh my god, I went crazy. So this is my horror self coming out, and I love the show. I personally don't think the show is extremely gory because I watch a lot of horror stuff. But I was like, this episode is going to be, and we're gonna push it, but it was gonna be even further. And some people were fighting me the whole way. Everybody fought me this episode for so long. It's too much. It's too many things to do. It's too big. And I was like, no, it has to be let's come up with the ways to like save money elsewhere. But like this has to land, to, like I said, to repivot what's happening. And it's CM Punk, Phil Brooks, who knows how to like throw and move and take this stuff. So it was really fun to kind of play with those pieces. But I mean, Romy's like legit on his back, like, flipping, moving, all this stuff.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, yeah, the fact that she's like literally wrestling CM Punk is just the coolest thing, and they've remained friends ever since. And I think it's adorable, and it was just so cool to see.
And she told me she's 5'1", so that's so adorable.
Yes, 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 yeah.
Okay, and then Aaron, what is your favorite moment of the episode?
I mean, so that moment, I think that, kill, I just think what the kill symbolizes for M's journey, I think is really, really important. And then I love the little scene with Dana and Wayne at the bed, early on. And he's like, she wanted to leave. And we start our entire show with him saying, how could you do this? And now he's saying, I understand why you wanted to do this. And I'll even sign a thing or whatever. I'll give you a recommendation. I think that's really sweet. But the ending with Jordan, everything that's there, the first draft of this that I was writing, I remember I wrote, "Thank you for being so kind to me," as she turned. And it just got to me in that moment of just everyone has turned on her. Her fellow students are trying to stab her, with a pencil. Her parents can't be bothered to care and what's there. And then this group of people took her in and have shown her kindness where she needed it. And that kindness has allowed her the ability to move on. And whatever that means, we'll explore as the episodes go, right? With this creature, what you call the passenger, as we call it. And what that means, is going to be fun to kind of unearth. But that moment turning, thank you for being so kind to me. And then Andy's look where he's just holding his hand and he's shaking. And then I don't know what it is about our cast being able to have perfect one drop tears. I'm like, gift from God. How did this happen? How did I get so lucky? Luke and I are just over the moon because it happens like Romy does it in episode 2. She does it again in a future episode. Dana does it in a future episode. And Andy perfectly here. And then we time the music, which Lydia Ainsworth, one of our composers, it's a needle drop at the end, and we time the dun, 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 like as it comes in with that, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is working. This is really working, and it just feels really special. And keep in mind, this is Andy, Andy McQueen, Ibrahim watching nothing. There's like a dude holding a light, and he's doing this, right? So this was all a puppet, by the way, that was created, like physical puppet. We're doing a whole special of Fangoria about how we did the special effects on that, which was wild, and always, near and dear to my heart. Practical effects are just everything to me. So that moment is really special because I think it works. The music is some of my favorite music of the entire series. I'm just so enamored with the music and just all these elements coming together, and then the cross cut with that and revealing what's happening to Dana and how what M is able to do for her to save her.
You mentioned the creature and the passenger. What was the design process like? Because I know and a lot of fans of the comics are waiting for this moment to see the passenger, and I've noticed that it looks a lot like almost exactly like in the comics. So, did you want to change it up a little bit, or what was the design process like when bringing the passenger to the screen?
Yeah, it was always, I mean, earlier on, it was in earlier episodes, but then as we started to think about it might make sense to kind of like, trickle this out. Like I always talk about how we wanted to, bring in some viewers that might be like, oh, murder mystery with a little twist, what's there? And then get into like creatures and all the craziness kind of like starts to hit you, later. But by that time, hopefully you're roped in by our wonderful characters and we've got you now. Now you're in a horror show and surprise, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, Luke had, he'd been working with this property for so long and had worked with some creature designers, and they did some spec artwork, and we had some stuff that I loved that Luke had already isolated from years prior. And then we took that and then we worked with Steve Kostansky, who's a friend of mine in Toronto, does a bunch of makeup effects and made a great movie called Psycho Gorman, a number of others. And so him and his team, Patrick Baxter and all of them, they basically did a sculpt, and they were sending me images the whole time of what the sculpt would look like and the scope of it and all this. And it took forever. I mean, it just took forever. So many iterations. And then once you have it, you have to comp it in. Then we're adding these elements to keep it a little, angelic feeling, alien feeling, all this stuff that can kind of play in there. And so, yeah, a lot of layers to it. But yeah, very proud of how that came out. And we just, the fact, again, it was one of those things we had to stick to our guns. And I'm like, we got to do a puppet. I'm telling you, if we do this with just CGI, like I've seen CGI monsters in the biggest shows in the world and they kind of bug me. So if we do it this way, I think it's really going to help us with our budget. And I'm so glad everybody trusted me to do that. And oh my God, it worked out. So, yeah.
It's time for my Who Said It. So I'm going to read my quote. We're going to give you guys a moment to think about it, and then you guys can guess who said it. Though, like we said earlier, Aaron does have an unfair advantage. So maybe we'll just let Rowell guess. All right, here it is. Get out of here. Can't you see I don't want them anymore? Take them back where they came from. Go.
Ooh. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. And I don't know how she could turn those down. Right. Okay. So it is Dana in her hospital bed, and her dad brings a beautiful box of donuts. And then she gives them to Ibrahim, which is nice. But was that it?
Yes, that was. And I chose that one because I love Harry and the Hendersons growing up. That it's one of my dad's favorite movies, so growing up. It was one of mine too. So immediately, as soon as she started doing that, I was like, I know what this is. Well,
Oh my God.
it,
At least she's so happy.
yeah, no, it was such a cool reference, and I was like, yes, yes, yes. The little kid in me is screaming.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Yeah, it was one of those things that you write in like an early draft, and then you're like, this isn't going to probably stay in. Like, will get tweaked, but you needed. the gist of that scene is to get Ibrahim to go to the house, right, to check on M. But I'm like, you can't just like walk in and immediately send him away. So we need to be like in the middle of a scene, and you're trying to come up with stuff. And I was thinking about how heavy the scene, how this episode is. I was like, we need some moments of levity. And then I think of, how does she reject donuts? And that Dana would associate rejecting donuts as like the hardest thing for her to do, as John Lithgow rejecting Harry at the end of Harry and the Hendersons, which was the hardest thing to do. And I still cry just thinking about that scene when he has to be mean and pretend. And then the way Andy plays it back is so, you were joking. Is so great. It just like doesn't get it, doesn't get the joke. I think is so funny. But I'm so glad that it stayed in. And I mean, I guess I had the power to keep it in, but I have no problem cutting myself. And but yes, I think it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, it was fantastic and delivered brilliantly, as always.
Yeah. Yeah. Mel kills it.
So now we're going to go into our big moments from the episode. I'll go first. So my big moment is when Dana, and we've mentioned this earlier, Dana discovers that Deputy Brent, played by Mark Little, is the one who shot her and Em in the woods, and the one who she shot in the arm. I thought that was such a twist I did not see coming. I love the way it was done. And oh yeah, and the fight scene in the hotel, in the hospital room with the bedpan. Oh, the bedpan. Oh, that's so great. And I love the shots where, they were showing the TV, and you can see the reflection of them fighting in the back. I always thought it was beautifully shot. And yeah, I thought that was that. And then with the TV, you know, I don't know how she has the strength to like pick that up herself in the short. Loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. So much credit goes to those actors and Samir and the blocking. And again, Max, the stunt team, like everyone pulling that together. The song there is Never Surrender, which is actually from the movie Kickboxer. So which was really fun. It's like a Stan Bush song for me. So that's, Luke and I love. And so it was fun to have that. It's kind of, and again, it's cheesy in that fun way and what's there, but we're dealing with like, a pretty big twist. And I will say there is a little hint to it at the end of episode 5, because she does slap Brent on his right arm. He's like, ah, and he makes this little thing. And again, if you're really paying attention, like you're like, wait a second, could there be something here? And then she does it again, but now she punches the arm and it comes back and it's like, how do we reveal this? And it was a fun thing to do. And I love the way that Samir shot that right down the barrel of the lens, like looking at each other, and that kind of standoff, which I think is really fun. And yeah, I'm very proud of that fight. I think it came out great. Stunt performers, again, just same stunt performer of Dana there, yeah, at the end. Mel's stunt performers, just they're going through the ringer, and and what does it feel like to be in a hospital? Originally, I wrote it with there was like a fountain in there, and it was like going even more crazy, but we couldn't do all this stuff, of course, because I go crazy when I'm left to Aaron go write something, and I go nuts with it. But was really really special, and I think there are hints to Brent in the season. I will say. It was, as not from the comic, because it's a totally different thing that we kind of played with. And you will also there could be some backstory that comes out on Brent to kind of help contextualize maybe some of the stuff in the future, I will say as well.
There is a moment in this episode prior to that reveal where Brent is in his car. He's on the phone, and he's really upset, and then I think he hits the steering wheel, and then there's a shot outside of the car, but you can hear him say, "Ow." So was that a hint? That was a hint as well, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, so actually, originally, this was in the end of episode 5. Brent's in the car, he punches it, he goes, "Ow," and then he opens his shirt and you see the wound, and you reveal it right there. So that was the original plan. And then we were like, I think we could hold this and just do a tease of it when she's, punches him when he's bringing flowers. And and then but yeah, so we cut away. But if you stayed in that shot, we actually have footage of him taking out the bandage. You see it right there.
I like it. Okay, Christina, what was your big moment of the episode?
I think it would be the reveal of the passenger. It's been building up to this. I have not read the comics, so I didn't know where it was going. And so for me, it was really cool to see what this thing actually is. Still don't know if it's an alien or what exactly it is, but it's cool and I like it.
Yeah. It was always just it's the one thing I've had to promise fans of the comic. I'm like, "It is coming. Don't worry. It's coming." And obviously was gonna be there, and it is a bigger part, obviously, going forward from what's there, and there's a whole mythology and rules and things that we've kinda created that even those who have read the comic might be surprised in the implementation of how this is done, so that's very deliberate. So you might think you know where it's going, and you might be surprised, even comic readers, which was really fun. But yeah, I get to put puppets. Like, this is cool, right? And we have big old creatures, and yeah, and what they are and why they're here. I would say I think it's reasonable to say it's tied to something related to Revival Day, but beyond that, I think there's a lot of potential answers as to what they are.
I have a quick question about you said puppets, so and the passenger's a puppet. What was the actual scale of the puppet?
So it is sized down. So the puppet is probably about 3 feet tall.
Oh,
And then you scale it, yeah, and that's how you can kinda make it work. But yeah, yeah, where it's, we yeah, we even Luke, like, 3D printed a couple little puppets and stuff, some different things, and yeah, it's fun. But we did a life-size bust that's, just like, chest up to
mhm.
carve to kinda get the look right and, 360 around. So we have that and then use that to kinda create the Smoshka thing. But it's yeah, I have tons of photos with me with, like, puppet around my shoulder and posing and being cheesy as all hell because I was just a kid in a candy store playing with puppets and special I mean, it's just this is my dream, This is my dream, and you get to do stuff like this. It's so cool. But then have it within emotion like, an emotional thing, like, it's a fun thing to play with, and I'm glad, Christina, earlier you mentioned tone and how, Mel in particular has this ability to take she can go to that drama and you are just heartbroken and she can rip your heart out and then can tell a joke 1 second later and you're laughing. And there are not very many actors who can do that to this level and make it feel believable and where it doesn't feel like whiplash. Like the writing is forcing you into comedy, drama, horror, scares, comedy, like all this. And she has this ability to kinda do that, and I would say, David James Elliott does too a little bit as well. He's got some really funny to me, some really funny comedic timing, like, I could see him in a rom-com at some point in the future. I could totally see it. Oh, by the way, real quick before we end, my girlfriend watches, and she loves you guys, wanted to say that. Katie, is a fan and, loves the show, so and she's watching now, and it's weird. Hi, Katie, and you're there, but you're actually also in the room next to me.
Oh, wait, can you bring her out?
No, no, she will not allow that right now. Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah, I appreciate that you guys actually watch our after show. Because you said you saw our hoodies. I know, wait, you watch it? I'm like, my mind is blown. And I know that Luke and his wife, Carrie, shout out to Carrie, hi. I know they watch as well. So that's very exciting. Um, so I really briefly want to go back to the whole passenger Jordan thing. Are you able to say whether or not that's the last time we've seen Jordan, who's played by Flora McInroy?
I mean, I can say whatever I want, I suppose, I think that the future of Jordan will become a little more clear as the episodes go, but, I mean, whatever, I'll just say it. No, I mean, this is it. Yes, she has moved on. I will say that. She is not in Wausau anymore. How about that? If that helps.
I'll take it.
But I'm just so proud of the episode as a whole, I really, really am, like, just to have this level of action and on the budget that we have and what we're able to pull off, and what's there and just pushing people to the ringer, but I get every time I see Em in that hallway going nuts, is so fun, and then breaking his own arm and stabbing it's so awesome. It's just Romy is such a badass and so proud of her and what she's becoming, that, like, in the end of episode 4, you see her put the hoodie on, and you're like, she's becoming something, and we've hinted at this, and she's pushed the breaking point, CM Punk Phil, like, talks about how, like, the way you shiver when I held that knife to Cooper's neck, and we talked about that, like, do we show that? And I'm like, I don't have to show that because I don't think the audience needs to see this little kid with a knife to his neck, but knowing that that's what's there and feeling his fear There's a great moment where Hudson sitting across the table from him, which by the way, what are they eating? Question. I'll just put that out there. And if you look at it closely, and he's there and he's like, I will what his sis will do something awful to him. And then you just see Hudson just like exhale. And the room was so cold, that's why his breath is there. So that wasn't intentional. But we saw in the edit, it was like, use that. That's so great. We're gonna use that moment and like carve this out and what's there. So yeah, there's just so much. I'm just so proud of this episode. It's one of my favorites of the entire season. And it's one of the ones that, again, Luke and I had kind of always worked toward, because this is now huge. When you think about the ramifications of what this means, M is on security cameras going nuts, right? Like you think about what that means. You think about we now have seen this creature. There is a physical creature walking around, and for some reason, a reviver poofed away with it. Like, what does that mean? And you see what M is capable of. And I think, and not only just that, but capable of the healing, right? So in the comic, there's when they are sad, they have the tears of blood is what they do in the comic. And so we were like, how do we incorporate this in a different way? And then also this understanding of, I'm sorry, Dana is like stabbed multiple times and it's bad. And you're like, okay, she made it through that, but there's no way she can't live through this. Like you have to feel it to that level and feel like she's fully dying. And that was a fun thing to kind of get to. And then, but it always felt, and this, again, it's not in the comic that M does this, but this was something that I thought made a lot of sense, as far as a power that M has. And does M just have that power? Do other revivers have that power? What does that mean? A lot of interesting questions. And yeah, it was fun to explore and very proud of it.
Yeah, one of my questions is like, are there any side effects to the healing? So when we see M, healing Dana, does anything the take away from M when she does that, or what I mean? Like, does it weaken her or whichever? Or,
No, I'd just say I think that's an astute observation
oh,
and thought. That's all I'll say.
all right. So now we're going to go into one of my favorite segments, which is the caption this. So let's take a look at those caption this submissions now. Oh, yay! Oh, that was so great. So funny. Thank you for all those submissions. And so, yeah, that was our caption this. Be sure to follow PopWireNet on all of our social platforms and keep an eye out for our post where we ask you to caption this. Reply to that post with your caption, and we will include it in our next episode of WitchSlapped. I gotta say, first we started out with 8. And now we've been getting so much great submissions, it's hard to narrow it down to 16. So, we have so many great submissions. So, thank you all for submitting, your captions, and we look forward to your captions for the remainder of the season. All right. So, Aaron, I hear you have a Who Said It for us?
I am paraphrasing which I should be better at that because I wrote it. But this person says the snapdragons, the ones that look like the little, with the little mouths. I'm paraphrasing. Snapdragons with the little mouths.
Oh, you don't know. I know who it is. I'm gonna give people a moment to think about it. It's a little harder. It was in a lighter moment. But it was Lester with the dragons with the flowers, with Dana. When they're talking about all that, and he's like, "Well, we don't have plant food. You need plant food. They're gonna wilt. We got to take care of them like we take care of our bodies."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to, like, write the specific types of flowers and, like, how Lester, who's so, hyper specific, so, like when in episode 4 or 5, when he's talking about the flashlights and stuff and whatever, and, like, how would he rant about the flowers and what was there. So, yeah, his rant about the flowers I just thought was always fun. And, yeah, and then the way Mel plays that is like, "The mineral flower fruit, well, you gotta go get that." So how can she send him away nicely?
I love it.
You know? Yeah.
Our final segment is we are going to reveal our performer of the episode, and I think it might be unanimous, well, for me at least. So my performer of the episode is going to be Romy Weltman, and the reason is because I believe this is M's episode. I love that in the beginning we get a flashback scene 20 years before Revival Day, and we see M being born, and we are told that she's very fragile. Then cut to present day, and she's doing all this badass stuff, and we see different emotions that Romy's putting on, and then also when she's trying to save her sister at the end, and she's crying, that just broke my heart, and then we learn that she has healing powers. So yeah, I loved her this episode. I can't wait to see more of what happens in the rest of the season. And yeah, Romy is killing it. And Romy, we love you. Yeah. What about you, Christina? Who's your performer of the episode?
I would have to agree with you that Romy would be my performer overall of the episode, but I do want to give a shout out to Melanie for her performance, and also to Flora McInroy, who plays Jordan, because especially since you said this is the last time you see Jordan, I think she's done a fantastic job up to this point. She really did a great job with that character. I felt like she was relatable. Um, and I think she's got a future ahead of her, like a good future ahead of her.
Yeah, she's never acted before, right? So never acted before. Her mother, Nikki, is actually one of our hairdressers that works under Dan, who's been referenced a number of times of our main hairdresser. And yeah, Nikki, they were locals in St. John, New Brunswick, and there was just something about her. She just felt so special. And I was going to shout her out as well because I do think when you have such a young performer that has to have an emotional scene, and she's there with the chains and she's got to react to what's going on, that's a lot to ask of someone. She was also very sick that day. And so we thought we weren't even gonna be able to shoot with her. And then she's like, no, I'm better. And she wanted to shoot. So then we did, and we tried to get her out really fast. So it was like a really quick process, and everybody's trying to take care of her and make sure she's okay. And yeah, and she just, she breaks my heart when that look back, and thank you for being so kind to me, just rips my heart out, and so just really, really special. And yes, people should hire her because she's amazing, in every respect. I would say another small shout out, before I give my performer, also to Mark Little, who plays Brent. I think there's a turn that Brent has, right? And I think, as soon as he starts to pull that, when he starts and he's looking down the lens and he's like, well, shit. And then after that, it's a totally different character, right? In the way that he's acting, and you're seeing the truth of what this man is, and the way he pulls that TV to block, it's just like, oh, you just know it's like bad from there. And so for him to go through that and then react of like, you're throwing piss on me, like, wow, getting hit with the bedpan and all this stuff and the fun things, which I was told to cut and I did not cut. Stuff like that I think is so fun. So I really think Mark Little did a wonderful job there as well. But yeah, Dana goes through the ringer, the emotion of what Mel's going through as a performer here is so hard, right? When she gets her pterodactyl shot, that's there, and what's happening it's just like in any other situation, it would be Mel for me. But this is M's episode. This is M's turning into the M. Martha Cypress that a lot of folks know from the comics, and you're seeing that transformation of someone who is just ready to break, who has had this whole world constantly beating her down, and she is going to fight back, and she's good at it, and I think that's just a lot of fun, and I think it's someone that, regardless of however you're feeling about the show, if you've watched this much, you're rooting for her. So, and the Chuck brothers are not good guys, and it's like, if you're gonna do this, you know, they're going after, and, I think it's just to go through the gamut of emotions, the physicality, all the things that have to happen, and she's a superstar, and I'm so glad that the world is discovering, why we looked for 1,000 M's and not settled, and picked and found, our M, who's Romy Weltman, and so proud of her.
This That really was her episode. It seems like a big turning point for her moving forward.
Yeah, it is. So it is. Very much is.
Can you talk a little bit about Romy's audition? Because I heard, as you mentioned, and as Luke mentioned, you guys saw hundreds of people, but then Luke said that when he saw Romy's performance, I think he stopped it and he cried.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. We were sitting, we were in the same room, our office. It was like a bigger office, and then he was sitting on the opposite side, and he, like, took his headphones up, he looked up, and he's crying. It's basically like an Andy McQueen tear, when he, like, lifts his head, at the passenger, and I was like, "Oh, which one?" And he's like, "This, Weltman." For me, what I felt the most is I felt a connection to someone that I wanted to see succeed. Like, I already was rooting for her. Like, I was like, if it's not Romy, I want her to be taken care of and successful immediately, just from the reads, right? And then but it quickly became, well, it has to be Romy, and yeah, so very, very special, very special.
How was it seeing Romy and Melanie work together in those Cypress Sister scenes? Because you can build the relationship between them through the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful that so quickly they were able to form, a camaraderie and a relationship, and they took, and this is just, Mel being a veteran actor herself and understanding, like, I've got to create this dynamic, and she worked hard to make sure that they kind of created this. But then, Romy was so game, and immediately as well, and yeah, it was, early on. I mean, the first stuff we shot was in episode 5, and I remember seeing Romy react, and Dana's in a hospital bed, but I'm seeing how she's reacting and what's there, and then I'm still seeing in between scenes, and I'm seeing Mel talk with her, and, like, we're working through stuff, and it's just really special. It's just really special, and they are sisters to me in my mind, like, just the way they act and the way that they'll tease each other, and all these things. It just was so much, and yeah, we had something, it was, you just kinda knew early on, I made a lot of movies and been on a lot of sets, and you start to see something, and there's, like, a spark, or there isn't. There is or there isn't. And sometimes you hope that you could generate one later, but there was immediately a spark. And, it's everything. In every episode, we talk about, like, what is our big sister moment? What is that thing that we're pushing toward? And this one has some big ones, that are there, and, but there's always, episode 5 is the end where she curls up in bed and she's there, and it's like, "Maybe I protect you for a change." Like, "How are you gonna do that?" It's like, "I have my ways," and Romy's so adorable on how that's done, and I just think there's just these moments, episode to episode, are everything. Like, the show does not work if Mel and Romy don't work. It just doesn't. Like, that's the crux of everything. Dead coming back, all this stuff, it's about sisters. It's about the Cypress family.
That concludes our discussion for episode 6. I also want to congratulate you. You and Luke recently announced on social media that Revival is going to go to Comic-Con. And so that's very exciting. How did you find out you were going? What was your reaction? And what can you tell us about what attendees can expect from the panel?
I mean, it was, I made it happen. So find out we're going. It was a thing that, I petitioned to make it happen, and worked with Image and SYFY to get that done. So to me, I always wanted to be there. It's been a dream to go to San Diego Comic-Con. I've never been, never had a project that was there. So very excited. I have another movie that I produced called Shelby Oaks that'll have a panel there with me on as well the same day, which I'm excited about. But yeah, it was. I wanted to go. We wanted to go, and we wanted to be present. And I think there's going to be, we will have a print that will be available that Mike Norton has redrawn the comic essentially with our actors, which was really, really fun. And there's a couple other things we're playing with, and what's there as well. But, we're bringing in everyone. Mel's going to be there, and Romy and David James Elliott and Annie McQueen. It was really fun. Stephen Ogg was going to be there too, but he actually has to be overseas. So the last week we couldn't work that out, which is a bummer. And then Tim and Mike, just to see the creators of the comic, and see their journey and what's there. Cause, it is a Comic-Con after all, right? So start with this wonderful material, this wonderful comic that we were able to adapt and to see where that goes. And we also will show a decent size, like a 5-minute moment of a future episode that I think will be interesting to see some responses to. But yeah, very, very excited. And, we have a signing that day as well. But we'll be around the whole time.
My recap of this episode and all the other episodes are going to be linked below. And Revival airs at 10/9 Central on SYFY on Thursday nights. And then it airs on Peacock. It streams there a week later. So make sure you catch that.
And then also check out my interview with CM Punk, who plays Anthony Check, which is on PopWire.net right now. I'll also put a link in the description below. All right. So, it's been so amazing, Aaron. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh my God, like such a pleasure. You and Luke have been so kind to us. And here at PopWire, we love your support. We are so thankful for everything that, you guys have been helping us with. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Yeah, I just love that people are talking about the show. Thank you so much. It just means the world. So whatever we can do to help. And yeah, you can just put it on the background, by the way. You can mute it. That's fine too. I'll take the views. I'll take whatever views. I have no problem. No problem with
And
that.
yeah, we need to do that for Peacock as well. So everyone, if you have a Peacock account, binge it in the background. You don't even need to just have it playing. That way it counts so that, SYFY can see, oh, this is doing big numbers on Peacock. And so let's
Total minutes. Total minutes played matter. They do. They do. So yes, I'll take it. So thank you. But you both are so wonderful. And then your other partner that's on the other episodes, like they're wonderful as well. So just thank you so much for talking about our weird little show. It means the world. And yeah, excited.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching our WitchSlapped after show for Revival. My name's Rowell.
I'm Christina.
And I'm Aaron.
I hear you have a Who Said It for us?
I do. I can.
Oh, wait!
Did I